In the part 1 video of this project, we looked at the overview of the project and I showed you the GUI interface. In part 2, we looked at our 4 different classes and coding those. And now we're going to code the forms. There's 2 forms, our form 1, and then I added a second form for our wholesale contact dialog. I kept the name of form 2 for it. So here in form 1, in our code, I have some class level variables set up. Products is a new list of type product. That's our parent class. And in that list, we can put in the product by unit and the product by measure items. We have SKU indices as a new dictionary of type string is the key and the value is integer. This is going to be the index of the products list. It will allow us to take the item that's selected in the list box, get its integer value in that product list, and pull up the product information. WH dictionary is also a dictionary of string and wholesaler. It's going to contain the strings of all the wholesale codes, and the value is a wholesaler instance with all the contact information. The data file is a string of hardware tab.txt, and then also have a string file for the wholesale data of wholesaler.txt. I like to put those as class level variables so that later when I add in, we want to write records out, I just have to refer to those 2 variables. Data header is a string variable that's class level. We'll set it to nothing as we do wholesale header, and then I created another wholesaler as the active supplier. We're going to use that to pass the wholesaler information between the form 1 over to form 2. In the form load, in a try catch, I'm going to open a stream reader and get the data file. I'm going to ignore that first line, but I do put it into the data header. That's so if I later want to write this back out, I've got that data header. And I can just refer to it rather than do a literal string of writing out a line. Then we have a do while loop. I'm doing a do while not sr.end of stream. As long as there's data to be read, we're going to read in each line. We're going to split that line on the tabs because this is a tab delimited file. If the first item of that split array is U, so if XYZ element 0 equals U, then I know it's a product by unit. Otherwise, if it's an M, it's a product by measure. And so I have 2 different forks here. So if it's by U, we're going to add in a new product by unit and pass all of those array elements from our split record to our list of products. If it's of type M, we're going to add to products a new product by measure, calling that constructor and passing it the elements. There's one more element in the measure than there is in the unit class. Otherwise, we'll do nothing. That should never happen because all of our data records should have a U or an M, but if something went awry, then we would just skip that record. lstproducts.items.clear, we're going to clear the list box. SKU indices.clear, so that's our other dictionary. And then for I equals 0 to products of count minus 1. So we're starting with counting with 0 rather than 1, so I do a minus 1 of the products count. SKU indices.add, this is our dictionary. We're going to add the product.sku and the index of our products list. And then lstproducts.items, we're going to add the products instance.list item. That's going to give us the name of the item and the SKU number. And then we'll close our stream reader. If something goes wrong, I have a message box saying that something went wrong. And then I have another try catch. This is going to get the wholesaler information. Kind of the same thing here. We're just dimming another SR stream reader. We're opening the wholesale data file, reading that first line, putting it into wholesale header again. So later if I want to write new records back out, I don't have to do a literal string of the header. I just call in wholesale header. In a loop, we're going to read each line, split it on the space bar space, and then we're going to create a new wholesaler instance as WH, and we're going to add to our WH dictionary the XYZ element 0. That's going to be the wholesaler code to uppercase. There should be all uppercase in the data file, but if they're not, we'll make it uppercase. And then I'm adding as the value the wholesaler instance. That's my WH. Again, going to close that loop and provide a message if something goes wrong. That should populate the data for both the wholesaler and all of our products. Our list box, when we change the selected index, I'm going to take the length of the selected item and get its integer. And then the selected SKU, remember that item contains the name and the SKU. The selected, I'm going to dim selected SKU equals lstproducts.selecteditem.substring. I'm going to take the length minus 8 and trim it. So I'm going to get those last few characters which represent the SKU. And add a message box into that. I was just doing some testing to make sure that was coming up correctly. And then I'm going to dim IDX's integer equals SKU indices.item selected SKU. So I'm going to my dictionary, looking up the SKU, and then getting its index. That will allow me to pull the data from the products list. LBL item.text equals products element IDX.item name. Do the same thing for the SKU, the department, the aisle, the wholesaler code. And then I set the active supplier to the instance of the wholesaler from the WH dictionary. If type of the products item, or products instance, is product by unit. So I can, with type of, I can determine which child class that particular instance is. If it's product by unit, I'm going to dim XYZ as a product by unit instance, and it's going to equal products element IDX. And then I use that XYZ to pull up the price per unit, the inventory, and the items sold, and put those in the 3 labels. However, if the type of my instance of products element IDX is product by measure, then I'm going to dim XYZ as a product by measure equaling products IDX. And then I can pull from that instance the measure unit, and the measure inventory, and the measure sold, and the measure price. I have a menu item called show department, and that is all of those menu items under the department menu for the various departments, such as pets and electrical and tools and hardware and home. And what I'm doing there is I'm simply going to replace the ampersand with nothing. I want to get rid of that ampersand because if I want to look at the string value, that ampersand is part of the string of the text. I want to get rid of it. So that way I'm left just with the text of the menu item and excluding the ampersand. So here I'm going to use link. Dim display equals from prod in products. So I'm looking at all the products where the product department equals my variable DEPT. And I'll select that product. Then I'm going to clear my list box. I'm going to put in LBL query the department name and the word department. And then for each P as product in display, display is my queried list, I'm going to add those items to the list box. Let me just jump down real quickly because I don't have these necessarily in the order that they probably should be, is the all department. That's also part of that department menu. So there I simply, in essence, kind of do the same thing. I don't need to do a query. I just need to clear the items, set the LBL query.text all departments, and then I'm going to go through my products list and add each of those back into that list box. Coming back up. We have a menu item of purchase suggestions, and there what I'm going to do is I'm using abstraction. I'm using that get inventory difference method that's abstracted between those 2 child classes, and I'm going to display from the list of products anywhere where that get inventory difference is less than or equal to 0, meaning we've sold more than what we have in inventory. I'm going to select that product, again clear the list box, set the LBL query.text equal to products with inventory that's less than or equal to sold, and then put those products back into the list box. I have a method for show about. This is going to bring up a little dialog box, message box. And the C wholesaler line menu item, I'm going to set WS code as a string and use an input box to ask the user to enter the wholesaler code. Then I'm going to use link again to pull from products all those items where the wholesaler code equals what they entered. If that count equals 0, then I'm going to say there wasn't any items found for that wholesaler. Otherwise, we're going to clear LST products. We're going to dim CO as string equals WH dictionary. So I'm going to pull from the WH dictionary that wholesaler code dot company. And then in my query box, we're going to say products from whatever that company is. And then for each product in WH items, we'll populate the list box with that. Now we had the LBL wholesaler code for each item in our Form 1. When we clicked that, it showed a dialog box with the wholesaler contact information. The LBL wholesaler code.click event is going to create a new Form 2 that I call WH form. So I added a new form. You saw how I designed that in Storyboard, very small little form, just with a bunch of labels on it. We're going to set whform.lbl.whcode.text equals activesupplier.id. Just remind you that active supplier is a wholesaler instance that we set back in the list box selection. And then the company, and then the address, carriage return line feed, the city, state, and zip. That's all going into LBL address. LBL contact takes the active supplier phone number, the word contact, and and the person who is the contact at that company. I'm going to set the start position to .manual. In case I forget to do it in the properties, I did it here. And then whform.top equals me.top plus 380. And the left is me.left plus 300. That's going to put it down in the bottom right-hand corner of my Form 1. I'm going to show that dialog. Then the exit menu item is just simply me.close. I didn't bother to put it inside a message box verifying they want to close. It's probably a good idea. And it's just a time I didn't do that here. You've seen me do that many times before. And here's our code for the Form 2. There is no code. The only thing that's happening on that form is clicking that close box on the title bar. That's already coded for us. We don't need to do anything. It's just displaying information. And that concludes the building of our hardware inventory project. I hope as you test, everything works well. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the Programming Practicum playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos I create, you can click my picture in the top right to subscribe to the channel.